Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss Battlefront's first DLC, the Outer Rim, and what future DLC can do to build upon this initial foundation. In my opinion, the Outer Rim was a very solid first DLC for Battlefront. It added some new blasters, some new features, some very well designed maps, and perhaps above all a new game mode, Extraction. Let's just talk about the maps for a minute, because maps can be a very important part of DLC. In fact, these days in first-person shooters, I guess in Battlefront's case it can also be third-person, but DLC for these types of games, they mostly revolve around maps. And DICE did not shy away from that. They made some really beautiful maps, but they weren't just beautiful. They also played very nicely. You could tell that DICE put a lot of work into designing them. Maps were not the only thing DICE added in this DLC. They also added a new game mode, Extraction. Now, a lot of the time, developers make new game modes and they don't put as much work into them as they could. I did not find this to be the case with the Outer Rim. Extraction was a very solid game mode. It really integrated itself well into the Battlefront universe and into the game. By adding new game modes to Battlefront, you can really increase its lifespan and keep the player base coming back. With new game modes, you can relive some of your favorite moments in the game and also experience completely new moments, especially with a very well fleshed out game mode. I think Extraction was a good example of this, but if a game mode is really well designed and well executed, then it can really keep the player base up, because players want to come back to the game to play this game mode. They want to experience it over and over again, and this is really beneficial to the game and the player base. But as is the way with games, Extraction will at some point fade and people will find it less interesting. However, that's where future DLC comes in. If DICE can keep on adding game modes like Extraction and adding new maps like the ones added in the Outer Rim and new heroes, then Battlefront can really live on and the player base can keep coming back and finding new and fun game mode experiences. This is something that Battlefront 2 and the original Battlefront, of course, did very well, except they didn't really have DLC because that wasn't the mentality of game developers at the time. However, they still had so much in the game at its base release, enough to really keep players coming back even 6, 7, 8 years later. I'm not sure how many years it's been since the original Battlefront, but again, I can still go back and play that because they just added many unique features and unique game modes and maps that I just can't find in other games. So I go back to that game when I want to play it. That is something Battlefront 3 can do. It can really stand out from other recent titles that are being released these days if it can create unique gameplay experiences. This is where DICE can really improve it in the future DLC. There's 3 more DLCs that have been confirmed, and if in these 3 DLCs DICE can add really well fleshed out maps and very well designed game modes, then I have no doubt that Battlefront 3 can last a long time and keep players coming back. One game mode I would really like to see added into Battlefront is some sort of capture the flag. Either 1 flag CTF or 2 flag CTF, or perhaps both. Players could have such a fun time playing capture the flag, especially on the maps in Battlefront 3. As we're seeing here on Endor, you can just imagine what capture the flag would be like on that, having to find a flag in the forest and then bring it back using the rocks and trees as cover. That could be really fun, but of course that would not only work on Endor but other maps, and of course DICE could tailor certain maps to capture the flag. Capture the flag could work very well, although sometimes capture the flag game modes do not work perfectly in games. I think DICE could really pull it off. And of course, a much requested game mode, or in fact I don't really know what to call it, but space battles. That was something that was a phenomenal addition to the Battlefront universe in Battlefront 2. Space battles were one of the most unique experiences that you could find in a game, and that's one of the main reasons I go back to play Battlefront 2. I usually go back to play Capture the Flag in space. Like, that's incredible. Not only Capture the Flag though, just any space battle where you could either fly and just take out ships, or fly into the enemy mothership and take out certain key areas in that ship to ultimately have victory. That was a phenomenal game mode. And oh my god, that would be so great if it was added into Battlefront. You can just imagine the beauty of those space battles with the next gen graphics that DICE is bringing out into this game. Another game mode that could be added to Battlefront is an elimination style game mode. You join one round, there's a set number of players, and if you die, then you're out for the entire round and you join again when the new round starts. Now, this game mode is not actually something you often see these days. However, I think DICE could really do a good job with it if they put their minds to it. Of course, a lot of tailoring would have to be done to make this game mode work, because there's a lot of just cheap methods that you could probably win this game mode if you're just using like thermal imploders the whole time, or certain traits or certain weapons could make this game mode unfair. So DICE would certainly have to do a lot of work with it to make it play out well. Now, something I would personally like to see in this game are AI battles upon the scale that Battlefront 2 worked with. You know, those instant action battles and those galactic conquest battles were phenomenal. In fact, that's what I really played in Battlefront 2. I only played the multiplayer once, and that was on its closing day. But I always played instant action and galactic conquest. Of course, DICE is more about that multiplayer mentality, and they did a good job with it in Battlefront. But I do think Battlefront could certainly improve if they added instant action and perhaps even galactic conquest. Now, there have been slight hints that there may be instant action, but of course, those are only rumors. But if that is implemented into the game, that could really keep this fan base coming back and even attract in new players who aren't necessarily all about that multiplayer. However, game modes like instant action are still seen in many other games today. On the other hand, Galactic Conquest was something truly unique to the Battlefront franchise, and if DICE can implement this into Battlefront 3, then it can really stand out from other games today and truly be one of a kind. So that's it for today, everyone. Thank you for watching. If you have any ideas what you'd like to see from this game, put it in the comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching. Thank you.